When you can't read emergency signs, that's not inclusive, it's dangerous, okay? So welcome back to the Freedom Pines podcast. I'm your host, Jamie A.B. Guys, I have been to the beach today, okay? So if you're wondering why I look like this and even sound like this, it's because I've lived a whole day, okay? The days are upside down. My husband's been on holidays and I just don't know where I am, but I wanted to make a video about this because the more and more we get into summer, the more that I am noticing why language barriers are so incredibly dangerous. So welcome back to the Freedom Pines podcast. I'm your host, Jamie A.B. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and let's get into today's video. So on my way today to the beach, and this is I would say a road that I pass maybe 4 people on the way to where I am going. And lo and behold, what do we run into? Somebody in the ditch. Somebody who is not from Canada, okay, looking very confused, and the police are there already. In my opinion, this is not a normal thing to see on this road. Now, however, because of these things happening, like them making it a lot easier to get licenses in Canada, we are having and seeing more and more accidents. Now, the MTO, I will say, has done a better job at checking these trucks to make sure they're, regulated properly and stuff like that, and that they have their licenses. But, you can only do so much. I still see maybe an accident. I go down south maybe 4 out of 4 times a year, twice there's an accident that I pass on, and I have to drive to get home on one of the most dangerous highways in the world, which is Highway 11. So yeah, that's my life. But the thing is that it's noticeable. It's noticeable, and it was happening a lot, to be honest. Like prior to 2023, we were seeing so many accidents on Highway 11 that probably could have been preventable had these people had proper training. Now, I don't know if I mentioned in my video the other day about Wonderland, just people going in restricted areas, people letting their kids swim in fountains. Just when we are not teaching people how to integrate when they come to Canada, it is causing a massive divide. When you have a bunch of people who, bring over certain norms from other countries, it's going to create chaos when the rest of us are doing the norms that were already here and playing the game fairly. And, just getting absolutely annihilated in the meantime. I've mentioned this in my TikToks before, but, I was in North Bay last year and there were people swimming in the lake, and we went to go swim in the lake, and all of a sudden they blow the whistle because there's lifeguards there, and they're like, lake is unsafe. It has this type of disease or whatever. Can't swim in it. Of course, we had a hotel that also didn't have a pool, so that was just great. But there was a bunch of people who could not speak English in this lake. And I genuinely don't think that they knew that they weren't allowed to do that, because I almost didn't know I was allowed to do that. The sign was really little. And if you don't speak English, you're probably not going to notice the sign that says it, because maybe sometimes I notice the signs that are in French, and that's probably because they don't have an English one near them. And I'm like, wait, why is there only one? But yeah, I just noticed this year and last year why there is such a big safety hazard when it comes to mass, what. And this is really just, here's the thing, these people were told that they were going to have a better life. I don't dislike these people, but at the same time, I have to be realistic, okay? This is the government's fault. I'm not racist. I don't blame anybody, okay? I think no matter who you are, if you want to come over here and change your life for the better and live the way that the West does, and, conform as much as possible, without losing your identity to the way we live life here, okay? because you don't want to live in the same country that you're coming from, that's great. But you know what's happening? Either these people are coming over just to work and not live the Canadian dream, not like want to live the West standard of living. Okay, they want to come over here, make money, send it back, which is why I agree with Trump's thing where he says that you can't send money back. I think that's an excellent idea, because I think a lot of our money doesn't even get reinvested into our economy a lot of the time. This is our government's fault. And they like to run around and call people racist for having concerns, but the United Nations literally said that we are a breeding ground for modern day slavery. I've said it before and I'll say it again 100 times till it's out there. Okay? They're deliberately doing this to us. And guys, I don't know why, during 2021 when the Every Child Matters thing happened and they kept blaming things on us and our family, I asked my grandparents if my great-grandparents knew what was going on. No, not a clue. They came here for a better life. And as soon as I read about reservations, I had already known about the WEF wanting us to own nothing and be happy. And as soon as I read about reservations, I read about residential schools. And I thought, that's weird, because we've done a lot of sketchy stuff to the schools in the name of the greater good for the Panini Press, okay? That's strange, Are people going to say these things about me? Even though I think I'm doing good, even though I'm working at the most violent place you can work at, and it's a unionized place? Despite me knowing what they're doing is wrong in the schools and I'm still staying, does this make me one of these people that will go down in history? Did these people think that they were doing the right thing? I don't know. I'm just saying. The way that the Catholic schools framed it before was they were teaching them, okay? And then I read the information. I know what the government actually thought about these people. Okay, and it seems a lot like what they say about us now, okay? Which is just how I think that history is absolutely repeating itself, okay? As soon as I realized that our government likes to do this, it seems like we are just a boomer at a company that gets 12 weeks vacation, knows their rights, and has lots of seniority, lots of benefits, all of the things, and seems to be costing the company a lot of money, but then when they get fired, they realize, they were holding the whole company together and there was a reason why they got all of these things, because they were so good for the company. That's essentially what I think our government's doing, and I've said that before, but sometimes I've said things and then they're like, what are you talking about here? And I have to go back and say it, but you know what I mean? I've also told this story before, but last year I was in a hotel and some guy who had a very thick accent came into the hotel room or hotel pool and whipped out his phone, and I'm pretty sure was recording my children. And that's just not what we do in Canada. You don't, you should know that as you will be looked at as a weirdo if you go into a hotel pool and whip out your phone. And start FaceTiming, which is what he said he was doing. Yeah, okay. Who goes into a pool where screaming kids are to FaceTime out of the room that they were just in their own, they were in their own room. They were in the workout room. Why would you leave to come into a hot pool where kids are screaming? Okay, and I've told that story before. But that's just another example of things that have happened personally to me that have made me open my eyes and realize, holy crap. And just, my daughter, who is 12 years old, she says that certain people look at her very strangely and she doesn't know how to feel. And I don't know what to say. I have no idea what to say to things like that. I have to tell her to trust her instinct and to not talk to people. Do you see the problem? And that would not be something that I would have ever thought that I had to teach my daughter, because we don't have a norm anymore that is safety in Canada, because we don't even check if these people have a criminal history. And I'm not saying that everybody who comes here has one, but there's lots. Okay? And I know people always try to get you in a gotcha moment where they're like, how do you know that what do you mean by Canadian? I mean, people who, if they run into you, they apologize. Instead of just staring at you like you just committed a crime because somebody ran into you. Or somebody who doesn't butt me in line for a fucking water fountain drink. Because they know, because we have a system going here, who doesn't look at me like I'm the criminal for not wanting her to butt me in line. I don't know if that's what you do over there. I don't know. Maybe the elders get to go first. I don't know. Is anybody explaining to her that's not how shit works here? That unless you're dying or a pregnant woman usually. This woman was not elderly. Okay, we're both mothers. That you don't get ahead. And even usually pregnant women are waiting their turn in line. It's very, very frustrating because like Canada's built on immigration. I'm sorry, you guys can think that if you want, you don't have to. Most of our grandparents immigrated here. We are not the government. We are plebs. Most of our families are plebs. Unless you're part of the Liberal cabinet or own some sort of Loblaws company. I have also seen convenience store workers working for hours on end, to the point where I'm like, do you know you have rights? I don't know if you know this, but go to this website, you have rights. Because I genuinely did not know if these people were sleeping in this building. I want to know what you guys have seen. If you guys have seen the exploitation or people getting set up in, stuff while we have, you cannot tell me that 80% of the people that you see homeless are white. It's very strange that 95%, I was very sure that it was 98% and 2% was Indigenous, but I guess it might be closer to 95% of people who choose MAID are white. And I've said it before. I'll say it again. I really wonder what that is. I wonder if we have been convinced that we are not worthy or that we are useless. The language looks similar to what they used to describe Indigenous people of. This is history repeating itself. I will scream it from the rooftops. Although I am very tired today, so I am not yelling. But I hope that this video gets across and gets out there, because I am just so sick and tired of seeing Canadians losing, Indigenous people losing, immigrants losing, but also some people coming here and having really excellent lives that we could never even dream of achieving within months of being here. Tell me how that's happening. Anyways, guys. I hope you guys have a good one, and I'm about to go out to a campfire and eat a freaking s'mores bar. So I hope you have an excellent day, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe and share, and I am out of here. Okay, have a good one, guys.